So we're talking problems of development. It was this new unit we were looking at. We were discussing what is the different measures for development. So I believe in the last class we were talking about exports, imports. So the issue that many governments face is, what do we do in order to incentivize or promote economic growth of companies? Do we protect our national industry by taxation in imports? Or do we just liberalize the markets and we allow any products to come? So the path that Korea followed was very wise. He liberalized the market, he allowed products coming from America to enter Korean markets. They didn't protect the national, like we are going to protect it from foreign competition. What they do is like, we are going to allow products coming from outside, but if you have a good idea and you want to be an entrepreneur, the Korean government is going to give you money with very low interest rate. Guys, okay? So that will happen in Korea, and that's it for the growth. So the two strategies is import substitution. Import substitution, what was this? Is protection. Protection is we put taxes on products coming from outside in order to promote our national industry. That will be like protectionist measure taken by the government. And on the other hand, the opposite will be, so one it was import substitution, what was the other one? You can check in your notes. If you have your notes, guys. How is it possible to have better notes than you guys? Market forces exposure. Import substitution, market forces exposure. Exposition to foreign products, to foreign competition. So then the government hoped that the national companies will struggle to survive against all these foreign products coming, like international technology, which is very competitive, good price, good quality. So then they expect a reaction from the national industry, from their entrepreneurs. And maybe they can help on the other hand to make being competitive as well. Now, so this was one, it was import substitution. The second one was market forces exposure. We're talking about the measures, okay? One, import sub. Market exposition. This is liberal economies where the government doesn't protect the economy. So here we are talking basically about the external sector of the economy. Trade with foreign countries. And then, I don't know if we had time in the previous class, but the third one, it was focused in the role, deal, or lead by the government. So we are talking governments who take part or role in the economic activity, and they try to improve infrastructures, capital, stock, education, and healthcare.
Trading.
That will be trading. Among all these three, question for you guys, among all these three, which one is the most liberal policy in order to develop the economic growth of the government? To help a country to develop economically and in social terms, which one of these is the most liberal one? Measure. 1, 2, or 3? Who says first? Who says number 1? Okay, first of all, do you know which is liberal? Liberal, to be liberal.
Like be free?
Yeah, free means liberal. Yeah, that's an easy question. But when someone say, I have a liberal point of view about the economic growth, or I have a liberal point of view, it could be in economic and social terms. When you talk about being liberal, in English, or Spanish, or any language, liberal, it's the same in every language. In French, it's the same. To be liberal, it means you have an open-minded. In social terms would be, for example, that you don't mind about sexuality of the people, you like women, you like men, you are not very patriotic, you respect everyone, you are not racist, you are not xenophobic. That's how it's interpreted nowadays, this word. But liberal has a different term. Originally in economics, it means little role of the government. People is free to choose what to produce, when to produce, and when to produce. And no much intervention from the state. That means liberal. The government doesn't dictate us, like freedom, right? So then, according to this, this meaning, which one of those three will be liberal policy? See? Okay. Any different answers from you guys? She said it's the second one. Anyone think differently? That's right, it's the second one. That's liberal. The opposite of being liberal is in economy, it will be conservative. Conservative, but when we talk about economy, we'll talk about interventionist. So being protective or interventionist is when you justify the government taking part in the economics in order to protect. You expect the government protects the country, either to make it more difficult for people from outside with different products. That would be protection. Interventionism of the state. You say to the state that you allow the state to say taxation. Here you say no taxation, free. Whoever's making it better is the one who will survive it, regardless nationality, regardless if it's a company coming from abroad. And the third one will be intervention, or it will be liberal. Protectionist movement or liberal movement. When you say improving infrastructures, capital, stock, education, and healthcare by the government, what it will be? Guys, the third one will be liberal or not liberal? Not liberal. Liberal doesn't mean wrong or bad. Liberal, it's just how it is. Some people, it can have a negative connotation, positive connotation. Here, the government is protection, is helping by intervention, is helping the economy to grow. So we're going to focus on this point, okay? So, how the government intervene in economy? By creating education, capital, stock, or healthcare. So there are like, we can say like 3 of them. Through government expenditure. That's easier, nah? Isn't it? That's easy one. Through government expenditure. The government spends money. There is not much to say about that. There is a problem here in this one. Where the money comes from the government to spend in schools, in education, taxation, right? So then what will be the problem? Maybe there is a lack of tax revenue. What is that? And this is a typical problem of developing countries, poor countries. You remember one of the videos we saw the last day? The problem of institution in poor countries. Usually it's a tribe system and it leads to corruption. So corruption is people pay taxes, but the money doesn't stay in the country. They go to a bank account in Switzerland. So you can see maybe if it will be reveal many of the bank accounts in Switzerland, you will see many of the very important politicians from African countries where they hide bank accounts there and they just transfer money there, money that should go to schools to improve the economy. So you have high taxation, but the money doesn't stay in the country. Also, if you have high taxation, it's a problem. Why? Because if I'm very rich in Spain, okay, I'm in Spain, and the taxation in Spain is 40%, then you have Switzerland when it's just 5% or 10%. What I'm going to do, rather than keep my money in Spain, I will send the money to Europe, to Switzerland. So there is ways. If you just charge too much money and you try to get much money or resource income from the people living in the country, or the guy who just move high resources of money, this money will go away. But also is how efficient, how is the efficacy of these institutions to keep the money in the country and not corruption. So we will see the problem of government expenditure is that they need money, and this money comes from taxation. So do we get money from our citizens? There is a lot of people working in the black market to not pay taxes, so there is no money. Lack of tax revenue. That's a very, very traditional problem, typical in developing poor countries. The institutions are weak. People don't pay taxes. The banking system is very easy to be cheated on. B, okay, we are the government and we have no money to spend. So if the government has no money to spend to create the schools, what they can do? Get the money from somewhere else, right? So I'm the government of Thailand, or Laos, or Cambodia. We have no money enough. People don't pay taxes. And the few taxes that are paid, they are taken to bank accounts in Macau and Hong Kong. So there is not enough money. How am I going to make to develop my country? The government is not strong enough, or is very corrupt to develop the institutions. How am I going to make that? I won't do myself the government, I will ask someone else to do it. Who can do it? Yeah, it could be. How I get money from other people? How can I get money? Multinational companies. Attracting this is, okay, think multinational companies. You can call it foreign capital. This has been used traditionally in many countries. Spain used this one in the 70s. We did not have industry, and we have not enough people, entrepreneurs to create wealth in Spain. So what we did was attract companies from Europe, from Germany, from Switzerland to Spain. How we did it? The government say, if you come to Spain and you open a big office and you give work, you are exempt of paying taxes, or you pay very low taxes. Or the government give you money, bonification, if you come to Spain and you give us work and you teach. Because when the companies come to Spain or any other country, they will create jobs, they may create hospitals, they can create some training for this, or they can just give some money to universities to get qualified labor force from the same country. That would happen with Taiwanese, the documentary we saw with the Taiwanese companies in China. They open a big factory, but they create schools for the children, they create like buildings where they can live, like, I don't know, activities they can performance, schools, hospitals. That can be made not just from the side of the government, but can be done from multinational companies. But you have to give them something in exchange. It's like you come to my country, you invest in education, healthcare, job, but at the same time, you are not going to pay much taxes. That's how it is. What's going to do is the employment will go up, the wages, of course, they are more competitive, and training. Okay, I want that you think in the second case in Ireland. You can go internet. Guys, no phone in class. John. No phone. So, the thing is, the second case will be Ireland. Ireland was a case, the country was poised for economic growth, opened the borders to different companies. So that's why, what companies you can find in Ireland today, you can find Microsoft, you can find Apple, you can find Skype, and all international companies. In 90s, before 90s, Ireland was one of the poorest countries in Europe. You have to think that. And after 90s, the rate of the economic growth, or GDP, per head every day increased more than 9%. In 10 years, Ireland catch up with the most advanced and wealthy nations in Europe. So this is the policy, they're attracting multinational companies. And with the money they get from the companies, they create a social system where the government could spend money. So I think it's very good is the case of Ireland, it's very good. What is the benefits of attracting multinational? Benefits. We saw here increasing employment, wages, or training. That will be good. But then when you talk about human rights from the point of socialism, not socialism, but when you talk about human rights, NGOs, they always denounce that in some countries they pay less salaries. Let's take the case of Taiwan. When they go to China, they went there because they have to pay high wages in Taiwan. So they go to Vietnam and they pay less money. All Spanish companies go to Cambodia or Bangladesh now. But then you have all these NGOs, you have to pay higher salary, you cannot do that, this is against human rights, you have children working like 16 hours per day. So in some cases it's right, in some cases no. Of course, if you go to different country to produce, you go because it's cheaper. If no, you wouldn't go. So if you are not allowed to pay a low salary, you stay in your country, and your country does not receive any money. This is a must-do path that every country has followed. In Europe, it's after the same. Countries who are rich now, they were poor before, and they were working for peanuts. So this is how it is. This is the rules of the game until the country developed. What is another negative problem is if you have companies who are polluting. So you attract international investment from other countries. You can produce, but you put a factory in the middle of the city, which is polluting or burning season here. All this is negative externalities. And let's go for the C1. So first is through government expenditure. Is how we develop the education, healthcare in our country. Or either if it's not by government expenditure coming from the taxpayers, because there is a lot of tax revenue, by whatever reason it is, then we go for multinational companies, attracting foreign investment, giving benefits or advantages to them if they produce in our country. And we expect them to give wages, to increase employment in our country, to help the economy, increasing consumption, for example. C, borrowing from abroad. This has been traditionally used by many South American countries, and is one of the main reasons why they are trapped nowadays in foreign and external debt, especially in the United States. They ask for money to develop the country, but the interest rate is quite high, so they have to pay back the amount plus taxes, plus interest. So borrowing from abroad. That will be a C1. The problem of this one, it could work well if the country needs money and they have no fund in the short term. So this is not short term. In order to attract the companies to the international companies in our countries, it takes years. And the benefits comes much after. Government expenditure is even worse. Like you have to just rebuild the whole fiscal or tax system to make it work and end up with corruption and make the people just declare the money. Not easy thing to do, but what easy thing to do is let's go for borrowing from abroad. We can go to IMF, or we can ask to the National Bank. So different institutions abroad to give us money. The problem is how this money is going to be spent. So the government enters to the country. So does the money will reach its destination, or in the way to the country, some money will get lost? So again, corruption. And also, the money we borrow from abroad, we use in a project, and this project is unsuccessful. It just failed down. So all this money is lost, plus you have to pay back the debt. So it's quite risky, this one, borrowing money from abroad. Everything which is borrowing money is risky. Because you can lose all your money, but not just when you lose your money, you have to pay back the debt. So many South American countries, they are trapped in debt because they ask for money and they have to repay it back. And maybe they put the money in an industry which was not successful. So if funds they are used usually to increase productivity for schools or for something which is going to create future wealth, well done, and you can repay back. But if you put the money in an industry which it has no success in the future, then the result will be even worse. So, 3 ways, guys. Improve infrastructures from the part of the government. This is intervention, either from the government or either from other entities. From the government expenditure. But this money comes from you guys, taxpayers. So if the government has a good tax system, and the state of law works very well, and the money is declared, and there is no people sending money to a tax paradise, then yes. And there is no lack of tax revenue, it can work. If my country is quite corrupted, we can go to the second one. We can say we are going to make some measures to attract Korean companies coming to Thailand. So they are going to just close Hyundai, they're going to close Samsung, they're going to just establish here in Chiang Mai. They open 2 or 3 factories. They create schools to teach Thai people how to work with cars. Okay, the Thai government say, okay, you pay no less taxes, we allow you to pay lower salaries than back in Korea. So at the beginning it's hard, but after 10 years, maybe the things are properly done, in Thailand can learn the skills and develop their own industry, automobilistic industry, car industry. That could be one example. Borrowing money from abroad. It could happen. In the case of Bangladesh, worked very well. That would be real cases. The number D is foreign aid. We saw a documentary about foreign aid and how it's risky and how in real terms has lower to almost no impact in the economic growth of a country, especially if you take individualities, people in the country. So we're going to go to the part of this, of the 3 points, is going to be D, okay? So it's A, B, C, and D, but D is foreign aid, and we're going to develop that point. So I think in the book, foreign aid is in page 447. Okay? Guys, have a look. Okay, foreign aid. This is important for which people? People who want to work in NGOs, people who want to go to countries and they want to help communities or get integration of different tribes. It happens in Thailand when you go to the north, here. When you go, what's the name of this tribe in the north? Karen? Yeah, Karen and other tribes who live in the north, in Thailand. Sometimes foreign institutions, they come here, they spend some money for integration, education of the schools. Does it really work or does not work? In 20 years' time, these communities get to integrate in the economic life of the country and create a life and improve there is social mobility after you get foreign aid. Well, again, this is not mathematics, this is not chemics, physics. We're talking about economy. It's a social subject. And everything which is social is not perfect. It's not precise. It's not like mathematics, 2 + 2 makes 4. Here there is yes and no. They create theories. Some of them you manage to be demonstrated in real life, it's empirically demonstrated, but many of them are not. And actually you create a theory, you think this is how the economy is going to work, until the reality shows you the opposite. But it's always good to create some theories about how economic system works. And some people it's pro foreign aid, some people it's against foreign aid. So, but we are going to see just what does it mean, how it's made, the functions, that's all. The opinion is up to you guys. You go to internet, you see which is the foreign aid. Does it work? Does not work? And you will see many experts saying and justifying why it does not work. And some experts will say why it works. So the goals are help people. That's easy one, right? So it's just help people, right? Sounds good. So you go and say, give me money, it's for help people. Oh, of course, I give you money. No, come on, it's not like that. When you get foreign aid, there is interest. So when you the Japanese government, okay, in Thailand, Japanese government invests a lot of money in Thailand, a lot. Like all the budget of the European Union in social system and develop money which is used for developing countries. The whole budget of Europe is just Japan in Thailand. So invest insane amounts of money the Japanese government in Thailand to help people, right? Because they are, yes, in truth it's true, but there are other 2 functions of that. The Japanese government has interest here. When countries give money to others, and it's not give, sometimes could be loans, must be repaid. It's not because they are good, they are like benevolent. It's because there is some interest, that's the economic point of view, and it's quite valid. So it's help people, but there are other 2. One will be political support. So you want the people to vote you in the country, right? You want to get votes so you can win the elections. So you have to create a good public image of yourself. So maybe to attract the attention of NGOs or to improve your image through media, like for example the President of Canada, Trudeau, it looks a lot that would stop the subject of human rights, lesbian and gay rights, immigration. Really, his public image is quite clean because you use all this. But then also with foreign aid, you use and you give money away to other countries to improve your image through media. So you are more likely to win the elections. And the other one will be commercial advantage. When we talk about commercial advantage, here in the book is used the word type A. Okay? So the goals of foreign aid, give money to the countries, is to help people. But of course also political support, so improving the image of the country as it can help other countries, as being a powerful country. Gain commercial advantage. This is when I give you money, but in exchange you have to fulfill some requirements. So I give you money to develop or creating, for example, computers, but those computers have to be sold back to us for a lower price. So usually this is type A. Type A is just A with some conditions. So you give money to the countries, but there are some conditions. They have to change their economic system or their tax system. They have to change something in the economy. So Japan makes that with Thailand. Okay? Japan, Thailand, and Japan, they are a partnership. They have a partnership and they have some trade benefits and advantages between these two countries to help each other. And it's in the own very interest of Japan to create infrastructures and invest in agriculture in Thailand because they can sell back products to Japan at very low price. Yeah? So it's in the benefit of the two of them and it's quite illicit and valid. I don't denigrate it or I don't condemn them. This measure is human. So it's aid must be spent on products produced by donor country. So I give you money to develop this industry, these infrastructures, but in exchange you have to spend the money I give you to buy products from my country, from Japan. Okay? Or I give you money, but you have to buy from us, not from other countries. And we give you a good deal, good price. Institutions. What are the agents who use the foreign aid? What are the institutions behind helping develop infrastructures in poor or developing countries? Who are they? So we have the governments, of course. That's easy one, but not just the governments. We have also United Nations. Yes?
That one ad must be spent on products produced by
Donor countries. Yeah, sorry, because so aid must be spent on products produced by donor country. The country who gives the money. Donor country. So you know when you give your organ away, there is that donor area. It's the person who gives. So who are the donor countries? Could be the governments, could be United Nations, could be NGOs, could be Oxfam, right? Very famous Oxfam. Could be World Bank. And IMF. Those two guys at the end, important ones, guys. If it's true that World Bank and IMF, they help providing loans and money to countries, developing countries. They put conditions. And the conditions they want is liberalization of the economy. Now you know which is to be liberal, right? So, okay, you go to a country as Cuba. Okay, now it's capital. They don't get money from them. Because if they want to get money from the World Bank to develop the country, the World Bank will ask you, will provide you all this money with very low interest rate, or will even give you for you with no payback, but you have to do certain things in your country. First of all, you have to reduce the taxation. Second, you have to allow private property. Third, you have to open the borders to international products, no taxation. Fourth, you have to help young entrepreneurs to create companies. So it's not that they give you money, they give you what is called tied aid. They give you aid in exchange for certain conditions. The ways they can give you banks is grants or loans. Grants is money that you don't pay back. So the governments or NGOs, they give money to certain countries, there is no need to pay back. Just to use the money properly and conscientiously in certain programs to develop the institutions, school. And they will check some agents and people working that the money was properly spent. And the other one is loans. We give you the money, but you have to pay us back the loan. Okay? So there is any doubt with this? We will talk about the process of development, we'll talk of the measures. Guys, this is the resume, okay? One was from the point of view of being liberal economy. So it means expressor, market exposition. I don't care if you are the price is Thai or Japanese or Korean. We open the borders and we allow everyone to sell in our country. And the best companies will survive. It's the raw law of supply and demand. The most effective in cost, it will remain. The other ones, either they adapt or they invest money to become more productive, or they will disappear from the market. So then the governments expect they will do well, the national economies. Then the opposite is, our economy is still very weak. We are in the early stages of economic growth. If we open the borders now, there is no way to our national industry to survive. So we will do what? Import should. Yeah, and that's not liberal. But it may help in the early stages of a very poor country to develop the national industry. And when the industry is already quite developed, somehow they say, okay, they're becoming they need some incentive to become better because the products are very expensive. So now Thailand is creating their own branch, let's say, of the mobile phones. Yeah, let's say Thailand now they open their mobile phones. The government give money. They don't allow Korean products or Korean phones to be sold here, or very expensive. So then, the Thai companies, they have facilities. They can create their own company, but there is a point that is not good, because the price is very high, because Thailand and India are not very competitive in this field. And the technology is very low, and the products, the raw materials are very expensive, so what they do is like now, that they have certain level of development in the phone industry, we open the borders. And then all Japanese, Chinese, Korean, they open. And then here, either they survive or they fail. So that's one of the measures to increase development from the external sector. Now internal sector, government expenditure, investment, these two guys. Here, and the third one is not there anymore. So improving infrastructures, either government spend the money from the taxpayers, either the government say, okay, we are bankrupt this country, we are a developing country, the best and easy question is just allow the companies coming to produce here. So you say Microsoft, come here, Apple, come here, Facebook, come here. And we give you facilities, but you have to employ people from our country. And the third one is, what is the third one? You have just to read. No. So we have measures. Now we are in the measures. Which one? Improving the infrastructures, stock capital, healthcare. And then inside we have three. Actually, we have four. The first one, government expenditure. The second, attracting national companies. What is the third one? Borrowing. Be careful if you borrow money. The project could be unsuccessful. Then you risk a lot because you have to pay back the money plus the interest, and then you get trapped. That's what happened in South American countries. That's why they don't find their way up of the debt, and they are like condemned to be poor many times. And also, of course, the government's institutions, they are not strong enough. And what's the fourth one? Exactly. Foreign aid and borrowing money is quite similar, okay? But foreign aid, we're talking more about NGOs, right? That many times they don't ask you interest, or it's for helping the poor people, and it's a bit different. Foreign aid is just money given to developing countries to develop itself, kind of altruistically, or socialized. What time is it, by the way, guys?